Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Hard Will. Now this is my Genesis Liberation quest, so everything here basically hits harder than it would in normal situations. So just keep that in mind while you're watching this guide. I do lag quite a bit in the start as well as the whole fight. So yeah, just keep that in mind as well. Anyway, so for phase 1 Hard Will, there are essentially two sides to him. There's the blue side and there is the purple side. You can look at which side you're on by obviously the background of the map as well as the top HP bar. Whatever side you're on, that HP bar will be illuminated. And you basically use the moonlight, which is the NPC key, to move. And you activate it and it'll move you to the other side. So for this whole Hard Will fight, not just phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, everywhere else as well, there's a dodge priority you have to go through, right? The first dodge priority is Will himself, and then next is the small projectiles that shoot from the beholder eyes that you see on either the middle of the map or the far ends of the map. And those little balls you want to avoid because they drain your moonlight, whereas for all the other attacks they only stop your moonlight temporarily and they don't drain your moonlight, but the little purple reddish balls actually drain your moonlight, so you're actually losing some moonlight every time you get hit by those, so that's a big pain in the butt. The legs usually do not spawn in the same position twice, so to dodge the legs I usually just stand wherever it was last spawned, and that usually helps. For phase 1, you want to avoid tornadoes because tornadoes do a huge part of your HP, and if you get unlucky and get hit by one of the things here plus a tornado, you're pretty much dead. So sometimes you get unlucky and he moves you to the other side and then you get hit by the tornado at the same time, which is a pain, and it does happen from time to time. In that case, you just gotta chalk it up to RNG wasn't on your side, and that's pretty much that. So can't really do much about that. So to avoid tornadoes, you can teleport, but you have to time it right, especially if you don't have a teleport that is super large in range. Or you could also switch to the other side, but ideally you always want to stand behind him. Wherever he is, you want to be on his back kind of thing, so that way he is always facing the other side and he's not attacking you or sending tornadoes your way. He can't send tornadoes behind him, so you always want to be behind him as much as possible. So the check happens at every even minutes, meaning 28, 26, 24, and happens at the timestamp of, or second stamp of 45-ish. Sometimes it changes depending on server lag, so if it's XS50, it does happen towards the beginning, like the first check sometimes happens at around 50 or 48. But usually 45 is a safe bet for the first few checks, and if you don't see on your side, it's most likely the other side. If you're soloing, just keep that in mind and just switch to the other side. And how you know which side is safe is you basically look at the eye. There's a big eye that shows up in the middle of the screen, and the middle of the screen is indicates which side is safe essentially. So if it's on that side, then you're good. If it's not on that side and it's 45, you might want to move, you know. If it's a party, I hope you guys talk in voice chat, that way you guys communicate, you know, where the check is happening and which side is safe. And also for Will, you know, because he has 2 HP bars, you want to even out your damage for both sides before check happens. So let's say if you clear a whole segment of his HP bar on blue, but you don't clear it on purple and check happens, then it'll basically reset his HP bar back to full. So you don't want that. You want to keep the HP bar basically even for before the check happens, otherwise you're basically wasting your damage. It doesn't have to be perfectly even, like, you know, just don't make sure it's not a huge chunk of difference. So during checks, obviously it will equal out the HP, and if it's a check where, you know, like right now where both of the HP is at 0 and it's next to a segment essentially, then you can basically don't worry about it as much, but sometimes familiars do heal him a bit, so you want to hit him a tiny bit while you're still dodging. And the actual check happens when, you know, he doesn't have any HP, and that's when you get into this moonlight kind of phase. And if you die during check, whether it is, you know, screen crack, tornado, whatever, it doesn't matter. The segment won't be cleared, and you guys have to stay here for another 2 minutes. So during check segment, you just want to collect one yellow ball on either side, and you want to just dodge the purple balls that fall. And the yellow ball will basically summon a barrier inside the little middle thing that you see, and you stay inside of that for the most part, and you should be good. If you're soloing, you want to summon a summon on the blue side before check happens, so it attacks the ball. If you're soloing, it always moves you to the purple side, so you want to be summoning on the blue side, because whatever side hits, the opposite side gets. So if you're hitting on the blue side with your summon, then if you're on purple, then you get the purple balls, or the yellow balls as well, essentially. So you want to always summon on blue if you are soloing. You don't have to worry about that so much if you're doing it with more than one person, or I should say if you're just dueling or trioing, whatever, right? It's only soloing you have to worry about this issue. And again, you know, you don't have to stay inside that barrier for the whole time during the check, but ideally the check happens, I think, around 15 to 20 seconds after, you know, he moves you to a different map, and you want to just basically stay inside of the ball after the 15 seconds. Otherwise, you're risking death. And as you can see here, I basically summon my summon on blue, and then summon the purple balls and yellow balls for me on the other side, and I just stay inside of it. And as long as the other side is not hitting anymore, the balls will not summon. Like, either purple or blue will not summon. So for phase 2, the same dodge priority applies. You always want to dodge will, small projectiles, and then fuzzy projectiles and legs. And again, the legs don't spawn in the same position usually twice. So for phase 2, it's kind of fun. I say that in the most sarcastic way, because you're HP locked. So in order to heal, you need to gain Moonlight and activate the Moonlight skill, which will let you heal for 5 seconds. Otherwise, you can use familiars to heal. And he summons webs on far ends of the map every now and then, and you don't want to get inside the webs, because if you're inside the webs at any time, you basically get one-shotted. So you don't want to get hit by webs at all. Otherwise, you basically risk dying. And sometimes he summons a spider, which you just saw right now. And that spider has no animation whatsoever. It just comes out of his butt. So you'll want to be careful of that and just flash jump over it. He usually doesn't summon it on the opposite side that he's facing, so you always want to be, again, on his back. And sometimes he also reverses himself and hits the other way. So you want to be aware of that, because that attack reverses you. And how you can tell it's very hard, you kind of have to just feel it. I hate to say it, but you just kind of have to feel it. It usually happens after 2 regular hits. He changes sides and does the little reverse hits. You probably notice where, you know, he's facing one way, but he attacks the other way kind of thing. And he also pulls his arm in for a longer duration than on his regular hits. So you kind of have to react. It's kind of hard, but yeah. And the first check for this essentially happens when you clear his segment HP, as you just saw. So once you clear his whole segment HP, the first check happens, and then after that, it's 2 minutes after the check ends, I think, or after check starts. I don't know which one it was, but it's around 2 minutes after. And then during the check, there are two parts you have to pay attention to. First thing is a cracked floor, and the other thing is a non-cracked floor. These items are very important because you have to know how you're dodging it. So when it's a cracked floor, you want to get hit by the legs, but for a non-cracked floor, you want to dodge the legs. So when the floor isn't cracked, you want to dodge the legs, and it's very obvious, as you'll see in this check coming up, which position it is. And during the cracked floor, it's always 1, 2, 3. I always walk in the same positions for the cracked floors. You'll see what I mean in a bit. And then for the not cracked, you can always camp the left side, or if webs are there, be careful because he sometimes does spawn webs. You don't want to be on the far left. And see right here, 1, 2 is the crystal, and then 3 is like a few steps forward. 1 is like around the pillar, and then 2 is the crystal, and 3 is like a few steps forward. Same thing as you see here. And if you look, I got hit right there because, you know, I didn't dodge it. And then you can just camp the left side for non-cracked. And if there are webs, you just gotta dodge the legs, which isn't that hard to be honest, because you know that they never spawn the same place twice usually. And then if anybody dies during the check, is automatically a fail, and you have to stay there for another 2 minutes. And now we have phase 3, and for this I actually forgot to switch back my familiar, so I kind of juked it a bit, but you know, whatever. So phase 3 is the hardest phase when it comes to soloing because the moonlight doesn't feel fast enough for webs. In this phase, you want to clear as much webs from either side as possible because they skill lock you and they are just very troublesome. So having moonlight basically lets you clear 2 webs. When you use the moonlight key, you just walk into the webs and it will clear them for you. You can do that up to 2 times. And again, if you don't have moonlight active and you walk into webs or get knocked into webs, you will get skill locked, so don't do it. And again, same dodging priority. He basically just stands still here in phase 3, but you want to essentially dodge him first, then the little balls, and then the legs and the fuzzy balls. So poison will damage the surrounding members if you get near them, but not the person. Usually if you're going with the party, you want to bind on the poison. If the poison player doesn't attack for like 7 seconds, it automatically kills you. And then once the poison player dies, doesn't matter how he dies, but if a poison player dies, then where he dies will have a little poison mist, and then the poison aura will get passed to somebody else. So ideally the poison player does not want to die, but it does happen, so it's not the end of the world, but you just want to be aware of it. For Will, he does 2 FMAs during the phase 3. So the first one is the white eyes, which you see right here. And for the white eyes, you just want to move horizontally and not stay in the same spots, whether it is flash jump or just massively teleporting away. You know, just keep moving horizontally essentially, and that'll keep you safe. And then for the yellow eyes, it is basically you want to stand still. You can hit them obviously, but you want to stand still in the same position horizontally. You can move up vertically a bit, I think, and it'll be fine, but horizontally you want to basically stay where you are, and you don't want to be, you know, moving around too much or it kills you. It's a bit hard to get when you're first starting, but it'll come, I promise. Flash jump players do have it a bit easier than teleport players, to be honest. I have both, but I suffer in Hard Will Phase 3 because of my larger hitbox during my final form. And plus, I was kind of very laggy in this whole Liberation quest, so I was basically dealing with lag the whole time, and it was just not a fun fight, to be honest. Everything was just so delayed for me, and yeah, the webs filled up a lot faster than I would have liked. But good thing I full buff on this and actually cleared it pretty easily, I would say. Compared to if I didn't have the damage, it'll be definitely a lot more suffering. And obviously you can use your Will of Urda or Nova Temperance or Hero's Will. If you get skill locked, reversed, I don't know about reverse actually, but I think reverse does work maybe. To basically clear your skill lock and be freed. So that's pretty much it for this whole Hard Will Phase 3 guide and this whole Hard Will guide. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comment section below. I try to cover everything that I can remember. I have a little list, so hopefully that covered everything. If you guys have questions, write it down in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe as well if you want to see new content from me. And I'll see you guys in the next video.